Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Lunch Break Podcast on Dive Team Media Network. I am your host, Reggie. As you know, I am here to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. You see the gear, you see the gear. Make no mistake, we played the Minnesota Vikings. This background is blue, even though it looks purple to you. The Atlanta Falcons played the Minnesota Vikings. But before we get started, I want to shout out to Party of Two Brew Crew, who is our sponsor of the month, giving us for the Splash Cast our beer of the month to bet. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Party of Two Brew Crew and the Splash Cast and Dive Team Media. We have a lot coming up for you. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. It is Falcons. By the time you're hearing this, it'll be Falcons Monday. It is Sunday night around 11:50 after the game is over. The Falcons just on Sunday night football just beat the Minnesota Vikings 22-6. We are here today to discuss, or I should be. I'm used to saying we because it's Splashcast, but I am here today to discuss just how the Falcons performed against Minnesota in what would be considered a ugly game, a defensive battle, if you will. Week two. So the Falcons are now 1-1. I have y'all know what it is. I have my notes right here. I got my stats right here. We going to go. So make sure y'all like, follow, and subscribe. Let's get into it. So the Falcons improved to 1-1. They defeated the Minnesota Vikings 22-6. We're gonna discuss offense, defense, special teams, coaching. We got to talk about our new kicker, Parker Romo. And we'll talk about the defense as well. I said the defense before. We'll talk about coaching, and we'll kind of preview what's going forward, what to look for when we go play the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte next week. All right, so let's get to it, man. The offense controlled the game. Very efficient. Not a lot of yards. You knew that this game was going to be a defensive battle from our standpoint of being an offense and trying to score a lot of points. Brian Flores and that defense you got to tip your hat to them. They're fantastic. Very blitz happy defense. They create a lot of pressure, a lot of chaos. They came in, I believe they had some injuries, if I'm not mistaken. They were missing like 3 players on defense. They also were missing their right tackle on offense, and their center went out with a concussion in the game. So great win for the Falcons, taking advantage of another team's misfortune on the injury front. It is what it is. But on offense, I really like the way that we kind of controlled the tempo. Zach Robinson, I'll say this. Zach Robinson is really good at scripting plays. That first drive, the 2 weeks in a row now, that first drive, we look unstoppable. And it was obvious that we were going to feature Bijan a whole lot. I think Bijan, let's look at it play by play. I believe the first 5 plays when the Falcons were on offense, they decided to give the ball to Bijan. Matter of fact, the Falcons won the toss and decided to receive. Normally, when you get the toss, you defer to the second half, and you normally receive in the second half. But the Falcons wanted to get their offense on the field early. They wanted to get us in a rhythm early, especially try to take I imagine that the best way to take the crowd out of the game is to go on offense first. And if you can drive the ball down the field, then that kind of sets the expectation, as you can see. I'm looking at the first drive. So the first drive, shotgun, Bijan left tackle, Bijan right tackle, Bijan right tackle, Bijan left guard, penalty, short pass to Kyle Pitts, field goal. So the first 5 yards were to Bijan, and he had like 50. I think he had 25 yards rushing last week, and he had 54 yards rushing, or 48 yards rushing. There's 48 yards rushing, I believe, in the 40s. He eclipsed his rushing total from game 1 in the first drive of this game. Atlanta made it very, very, very apparent that they were going to get the ball to Bijan Robinson. So I really like that we featured Bijan and we featured our best players. Very balanced attack. Actually, it wasn't a very balanced attack. I think we had, let's look at the stats real fast. We had 21 pass attempts and we had 39 rush attempts. So we definitely leaned on the run game, leaned on that O-line, and we protected Penix a lot against this defense, and we also protected the right tackle Elijah Wilkerson on this defense. So, I mean, on this offense from the defense, from Minnesota's defense. So, all in all, we had 39 rushes as a team for 218 yards, 5.6 yards a carry, and a touchdown. From the run game, I think we did a 2-1 ratio of Algier and Bijan along with substitution. So when I say 2-1 ratio, I mean Bijan was in for the first 2 drives, then Algier came in for the 3rd drive. And then when Bijan came back in for the next couple of drives, Algier spelled him, but we definitely leaned on Bijan a lot more in the 3rd quarter. I will say that. But we also used Algier as like the nail in the coffin guy, kind of like the Grim Reaper. He comes in after you've chased Bijan for 3 quarters and chased all of those weapons. We just gave the ball to Algier, and he ended up getting a touchdown. He had 16 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, averaging 4.8 yards a carry. Now, Bijan gave you 6.5, and all of his runs are – Bijan is wildly special. His cuts, he made somebody look foolish today. He takes ankles all the time. But when it comes to getting 3rd and 2, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, we had a couple 4th downs, 4th and 1s, 3rd and 2s. That short yardage game, we leaned on Algier. And that's all we've been trying to say since we got Bijan to add to Algier. Algier is a 1,000-yard rusher, but he is totally different. They even put him in at fullback on 4th and 1 and gave him a quick hitter, which was fantastic because that's who he is. He is a power back. Minnesota did not want to hit Algier in the 4th quarter. And they tried to let us score at the end of the game. They basically gave us that touchdown. But Algier, it was at the 4-yard line. Who's going to score anyway? And Algier was beating them up with body punches the whole 4th quarter. So I like the way that we used Algier and Bijan. I would have loved to use Algier a little bit more in the 3rd and the 2nd quarter, but Bijan really got it going, though. He got in a rhythm to where he had Minnesota looking foolish. So our rushing game was fantastic. I like the way we used them. I hope to see it evolve. Our passing game left a little to be desired. Penix 13 to 21, 135 yards, 6.4 yards per completion, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So I'll say this. I really liked that he didn't make the mistake. We are obviously going to be, our base offensive package is 11 personnel with Michael Penix in the pistol. If that's what he's comfortable in, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to really judge him on this game because Minnesota's defense is so good. Even with all the injuries, they pressure so much. But of the 13 attempts, of the 13 completions and the 21 attempts, I mean, this is the 2nd week in a row now. He's spreading the ball around. We kind of hit a wall in the first half. We didn't really pass the ball well. But in the 3rd and 4th quarter, when we had to have it, Michael Penix came up clutch, found Drake London, who had 3 catches for 49 yards, but he also lost that fumble, which was key to keeping Minnesota in the game because they went down and I believe kicked a field goal. They did. They went down and kicked the field goal. If Drake London doesn't fumble, it's probably 13-16 or 16-0 at halftime. And I don't, or 16-3. And I don't know if Minnesota, well, obviously they couldn't in the second half, but I don't know if Minnesota would have even shown up in the second half the way the defense was playing. But Drake London, 4 targets. Kyle Pitts, 5 targets. Bijan, 5 targets. Most checked down. Algier, a target. Ray only 2. Darnell Mooney had 4. So we're spreading the ball around. And if Drake doesn't fumble, I'm sure that we probably throw the ball a little bit more. Kyle Pitts looked great. He is becoming exactly what we said we wanted Kyle Pitts to be during the offseason when I did that whole series about Training Camp Confidential. Go follow it. Go like, follow, and subscribe. Dive Team Media. You can see it there. But we said Kyle Pitts needs to be the possession receiver. Big 4th and 1 in the beginning. In the second quarter, who do we go to? We line Kyle Pitts up at the top of the screen, trips at the bottom. Kyle Pitts runs a slant. Boom. First down. We use him as a receiver more than a blocker today, which is just putting your players in position to make plays. That's all Zach Robinson did with the run game and with the tight ends. I can't be mad at it. So far, last year, if you remember, we said we want all the good players on the field at the same time. We said we want Michael Penix Jr. to be able to throw the ball down the field. We really haven't gotten that yet, but he does look good in the short passing game. We wanted Kyle Pitts to be the possession receiver, right? This game, we hit almost every metric that we wanted to improve over the summer. Came out in this game, except for throwing the ball down the field. But at that point, we were featuring Bijan. At that point, Bijan had 22 carries. Algier had 16. So we threw the ball 21 times. We ran the ball 39. So I'm cool with the way that it worked out today. Also because our defense was playing so well. I would love, let me see time of possession real fast. Our time of possession was wild too. So we had the ball, I want to say the first 8 minutes of the game. Let's see, time of possession. We had the ball 36 minutes to their 23. We were 1 of 5 in the red zone. Both teams in the red zone were awful. So that's something about our offense that we need to improve. One is getting the play call in. We looked a little frazzled in the first quarter. We had to call timeout on the first drive. Then we got to delay the game and all of this. And Penix was saying, get the play in. And remember, this is Zach Robinson's second year calling plays, so we're still working on it. But so we got to work on this red zone offense. The red zone offense was abysmal. The play calling, it's hard to criticize the play calling because of the defense, but the play calling was a little better than last week. I will say that. And shout out to you, Zach Robinson. You found, we talked about the coaches that when they find something that works, they just run that play over and over and over again. You found that they couldn't tackle Bijan. So you was like, hey, they tired. They're giving up. We just going to run the ball. If that gets us to a W, and that's where your conclusion comes to when it comes to being a better play caller, is give the ball to Bijan and Algier, you ain't gonna hear too much from me. You won't hear too much from me. The only thing I ask is that you push the ball down the field. We got to throw the ball. I understand that we were trying to win time of possession, and that was cute, but you got to throw the ball. Michael Penix, man, his accuracy is great. His composure is fantastic. Had some big time throws, didn't make any big time mistakes. I think he had a better game in week 1, but in week 2, our run game was so valid this week versus last week that I understand why we just kind of dinked and dunked the whole game because they couldn't stop us. Receivers, Drake London, 2 years in a row, bro. You did that against the Saints, and that cost us the game. This one kept them in the game. So you got to do better, man. But I like how you stepped up in the fourth quarter. Mooney, welcome back, Mooney. Welcome back. Two catches on 4 targets. That's cool. Hey, man, you didn't get hurt, and you still showed that wiggle off the line, dog. You was good. So we're fine with that. There weren't really any drops. I don't think we had any drops. Right? Is that a thing? Is that a stat? Is that something that I can see? Yeah, we didn't have any drop. No, Bijan. He had a drop. It was difficult. It was a difficult catch on 3rd and 5 at the goal. 3rd and 5 from the 10. But other than that, we really didn't have any drops. Sorry, Ray. Not enough football to go around. You only got 2 targets, but it is what it is. The offensive line, how y'all feel about it? How do y'all feel about the offensive line? We allowed a total of 3 sacks for 27 yards. But yards per rush, we're at 4.1. Penalties, we had 4 penalties. They only had 1. I'm sorry, we only had 1 penalty. They have 4 penalties. I'm sorry, that's turnovers. We only had 1 turnover. They have 2 turnovers. They have 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles lost, 2 interceptions. So, we played on the offensive line. That's where we'll come in. The offensive line, I'm very, very impressed with our guards. Our guards are definitely the best players on the team, on the offensive line. And Bergeron and Lindstrom held everything together. Wilkinson, other than that 1 penalty, I think it was a false start. We had 5 penalties total. Even though we had like a false start, and you may have gotten a hold. This is not a bad look for you. This is way better than the preseason. And I said something in the preseason because I saw the way that you reacted. You kept looking at the guard when we was playing Tennessee, and we couldn't run the ball. They were killing us on trying to get to the quarterback in pass protection, and you kept looking at the guard. I understand now, because with you, when you're with Lindstrom, you look way better. You look way better. So I will say we probably need to work on our interior, not the guards, but the center. I know Nuzul, who is our new center, had a tough couple of weeks. First week, you had to go against Vita Vea. Second week, you had to go against Brian Flores and pick up all the exotic blitzes as well as the nose tackles, Javon Hargrave and all of those guys. So I'm not even going to really penalize you on that as well. I like what the offensive line did as a whole. We made them quit in the 4th quarter. In the second half, we just decided to run the ball down their throats, and there was nothing that they could do about it. And that's essentially what we did. Shout out to Zach Robinson with the play design. It tells me that you do listen to some of these commentators out here. One of the things that we said was, or that I read, was that every time Charlie Warner's in the game, we're going to run the ball. It's 100%. So what do we do? Of course, Charlie Warner's in the game. One, we have a direct snap to Bijan. And then the second one, we have a pass to Kyle Pitts. So obviously you heard that. So I'm not upset totally with how the offensive line played. I think I'd give them a B, honest. To be honest, I'd give them a B. I give coaching a B on offense. Zach Robinson, I give you a B, maybe a C. I need to see you push the ball down the field more. I need to see some more I don't want to say exotic. I liked how you used the motion a lot, and you're using 11 personnel and getting everybody involved. So I'll give you a B, actually, Zach. I'm not gonna give you a C because you got everybody involved. So that was good, man. The offense overall, man, I give them a B. You held the ball. You didn't make any major mistakes. You had 1 fumble, and other than that, that was great. Let's move on to the defense. All right. Before we talk about the defense, I'm going to tell all y'all right now, Falcons fans, let's pump our brakes. I know y'all going to say I'm raining on y'all parade, or our parade, but the Minnesota Vikings were missing their starting offensive tackle. Their center went out with a concussion. And they were basically playing with one hand tied behind their back. With that being said, let me tell y'all, I'm excited about these rookies. Think about our top 4 draft picks: Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman. Those are our top 4 draft picks. 2 of them started in Billy Bowman and Xavier Watts. And then, of course, you have the pass rushing rotation that includes Pierce and Walker. Pierce and Walker, all 4 rookies made their first something. Whatever it was, first interception, first sack, first tackle for loss, whatever it was. James Pierce Jr. made himself available and known early. James Pierce had 2 tackles, a half a sack, and he had a quarterback hit, but they don't have the actual pressures on here. But James Pierce Jr. was in the backfield the whole game. He made life really, really uncomfortable for JJ McCarthy. Just James Pierce Jr. It wasn't a dominant performance because he didn't finish the play. He kept getting pushed out of the way at the end. He would get there and mess up the pocket, but he couldn't make the tackle for the sack. But man, his get off is crazy. I need him to hustle a little bit more. There was a counter that he missed the tackle. Instead of hustling to the ball, he kind of loafed a little bit, but that's splitting hairs because he's not here to stop the run all the time. He's here to get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback, which is exactly what he did. The other rookie, Jalen Walker, folks are terrified that he's going to be a bust because he's a tweener, and it's difficult to see him as a dominant pass rusher. A lot of our Falcons fans want to move Jalen Walker off the ball and make him a linebacker and use him kind of like Caden Ellis, which I think that is the plan moving forward. But let me tell you, Jalen Walker is extremely fast off the line, and he's got that chop move down. When he got that sack on JJ McCarthy and flipped him over, he was back there in 2 seconds. And it was back to back. It was him, James Pierce Jr., and then Ruka. Shout out to the D-line. They had probably the best game that I've seen in a long time. And we'll get to them later, but we got to get back to the rookies. Those 2 guys are going to be scary. James Pierce and Jalen Walker on the same side of the field, same side of the line, are going to be scary. I like how we mixed them up and Jeff Ulbrich is using those personnel packages differently. And then there's Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman has the potential to be one of those guys that's like viewed as one of the best slot / just best DBs in the league. He had an interception that was perfect. It was a deep out, and JJ McCarthy was late, and he read it. Boom. And he almost had a second interception too, but the ball bounced. But his run support is fantastic. His coverage is great. You could see the rookie's confidence growing with each snap. And as long as we stayed close and didn't really have too many blown assignments, they were getting a lot of confidence. So Billy Bowman has locked down that nickel spot. And then again, the interception to end the game, Xavier Watts, who just is never out of place. They call him Jesse Bates Jr., which is crazy because now you have Jesse Bates protege in the defensive backfield. Not a lot of lapses. We had one lapse where JJ McCarthy missed a wide open receiver, and Billy Bowman kind of got juked at the line. But other than that, for 4 rookies, not a lot of lapses. So that the rookies on defense are a standout for me. Jeff Ulbrich's pressure packages, bro. He did an interview and they referenced kind of the pregame talk where he said in the Jets, when he was with the Jets, that he loves to rush 4 and get to the quarterback with 4. And it didn't work. And he's been able to step outside his comfort zone and blitz. To have Caden Ellis, Jalen Walker, James Pierce, Leonard Floyd, Rook Oro, Brandon Dorlitz all on the field at the same time with your backup offensive line, Vikings stood no chance. Falcons had 6 sacks, y'all. I want y'all to look at me in my face when I say that. I'm pulling up the stats now, but I need y'all to see that, though. The Falcons had 6 sacks in one game from multiple people. That's outstanding. That is fantastic. That is wonderful. I don't know how many great things to say about how refreshing it is to be able to get to the quarterback. And it's a dual threat or running quarterback in JJ McCarthy who can move, and he had a couple runs, but for all intents and purposes, we kind of held him in check because I don't think he had 100 yards passing. And that D line, once they got you going, and once you guys get behind the sticks, that's one thing I can say about this Falcons defensive line from what I can tell and the way that we're going to blitz. We get you in second and third and long. You better be able to run the ball, because if you try to throw the ball too much, it's over with. And hey, Anyamata, whoo, the way that you were playing the run, the way that the defense had a 4th down stop on the opening drive, the way the defense clogged up the running lanes for both of the Minnesota Vikings, running backs. Whew. Shout out to the defensive line, man. The defensive line actually probably held it together for us while everybody else was figuring it all out. Shout out to the defensive line. Shout out to the secondary. Because we didn't have to say anything about the secondary. We had 1 blown coverage. 2. We had 2 blown coverages. At the end of the half, when AJ Terrell went out, which I guess is something that we need to talk to right now. AJ Terrell went out with a hamstring injury, and I don't know how severe it is. I know it's severe enough that he didn't come back, and they didn't even go to they went to the locker room. So we don't know how long he's going to be out, but that does tell me that we probably need to go get a corner. I do like how D. Alford played, as well as Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes, man, doing well. The best thing you can do in games like this is not be called on. We didn't hear Mike Hughes' name the whole night. Didn't hear Jesse Bates' name the whole night. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And they tried to exploit Billy Bowman and Alford, and it worked with Justin Jefferson at the end of the half. He had that catch for 50 yards, and they ended up getting a field goal. But for a large part, we kept everybody in check. We played really, really, really well on defense. I am interested to see what we do at corner. Everything else looks good. The D-line looks good. Anyamata looks like he can stop the run. All of a sudden, LaCale London looks like he can stop the run. Ruko Oro is attacking. Our D-line is our defense is attacking, which is fantastic. I don't know how many other words I should use, but which is great. So we have that as well on defense. And then, of course, the linebackers in the secondary. The linebackers were just Divine Diablo is probably going to end up being all pro first team. On one drive, Divine Diablo blew up the blocker so that safety could make a play in the backfield on a rush. He then broke up a pass, and he then helped sack the quarterback. Divine Diablo is everywhere. All the hype that they were saying in the preseason apparently is true, because he is that guy. Shout out to Ulbrich. Made a lot of defensive adjustments throughout the game. Minnesota tried, they have a good offense, and they were trying a lot of different things, and our defense was shutting them down. We don't miss a lot of tackles. Zach Harrison uses his length to absolutely destroy Minnesota's offensive line. caused the fumble, caused JJ McCarthy to fumble. It's just I'm trying to pump my brakes and not be a prisoner at the moment, but this is the best the offense has looked in a long time. And the defense. I'm sorry, not the offense. This is the best the defense has looked in a long time. So we overall on defense, that's got to be an A performance. You didn't allow a touchdown. You had 3 shutout quarters. You didn't allow a touchdown. You only allowed 2 field goals. You caused 4 turnovers, 6 sacks. And they only made it to the red zone once. You allowed under 200 yards total, 120 yards passing, and 78 yards rushing. That is a hell of a defensive performance. That's kudos to y'all, man. That's an A. A for the defense. A for the special teams. Parker Romo, 5 of 5, 66 total kicks, 54-yard field goal as well. Listen, man. What y'all think this means for Young Wei Koo? He was left home, so I'm assuming he's still on the team because they said he was left home. Do you just keep both of them and have a kickers practice or kicking competition every week, the same way we do with right tackle? How do you manage this, or do you just cut Koo and move forward? If it were me, I don't know if I would cut Koo, unless it's to make space for another more pressing position, but like maybe right tackle or cornerback. But Parker Romo, this job is yours for the taking, man. And that first kick was shaky. I was like, get the hell out of here. We replaced a kicker with a kicker and he still missed, but he made it. And then I guess it was nerves because after that, he was drilling them. 32 yards, 54 yards, 40 yards, extra point. He was great. But I got to shout out the kickoff and punt team. Raheem Morris said part of the reason or part of the philosophy that we used when it came to picking the final roster was picking a lot of guys that were good on special teams. And I was like, that's an interesting comment. But outside of your top 22 on each side, that's first and second string of each side, defense and offense, everybody else is going to be on special teams. So if you have a strong special teams unit built with a lot of guys that may get a little bit more playing time, but may just be vets in the game and understand how to play special teams, you're sitting in good shape. I think they had a muffed punt that we recovered. I don't think their average starting position had to be like the 20 or 25. They didn't make it far at all. And then we did not miss a field goal or an extra point, which I guess is the most important thing. So you got to give an A overall to the defense, and you got to give an A to the special teams. I give probably a B. I'll give them a C. A C to the offense. That gets you a B plus. I don't think we played our best on offense, but I think we played almost our best on defense. If we can finish out some of those pressures and turn them into sacks, we are a scary team. We are a dangerous team. Overall game management with Raheem was satisfactory. Way to bounce back. Didn't have to really, because the game went the way it did, there weren't really a lot of pressure moments to make calls that are make or break the game. But overall, Raheem and the coaching staff, offense and defense, I give y'all a B. I think the offense probably needs to be better still, but the defense and special teams, great. Absolutely great. Michael Penix gets his first, I think he went 0-3 last year, so I think he gets his first win this year. So shout out to Michael Penix. All the young players seem to be growing up pretty quickly. Next matchup, we have Carolina. You know, they start out rough, but Bryce Young, we kind of owe him. We kind of owe Bryce Young because he did that no-look Curry type pass in the dome at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What can our defense carry over? Can we stop the run? And can we block and run the ball? If that can carry over to game by game, we'll be in every game. We'll be in every game on our schedule if we can block and run the ball and stop the run. So all in all, man, sloppy game from a points perspective. That 22 is deceiving. That's really 15. 5 field goals is not what you want, but I'm not going to be upset with a win. Hopefully our offense can be better in the red zone. 1 of 5 is unacceptable. Hopefully our offense can push the ball down the field. I believe as our offensive line gels with the new center, that we will be able to then understand our protection calls and throw the ball down the field. Drake London, hold on to the ball, but way to bounce back. I love how this team with Michael Penix all of a sudden is composed, right? The Falcons aren't a composed team. We don't normally keep our composure. So for us to be a composed team and take, this was like a heavyweight fight of just body blows. Like to be able to stand in there and hold the lead and shut down that Minnesota Vikings offense is refreshing to watch. It was refreshing to watch the Falcons defense today. Now, for Carolina, I look for us to put it all together. We've had a good offensive day or a decent offensive day, or we've had like a mid or decent offensive day, but we've had good defensive days. I need us to have a good defense and offense and special teams all on the same day. And hopefully Carolina can be that team. But, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the Lunch Break podcast. Right here, we talked about the Falcons. The Falcons 22-6. Hopefully, I can get the live stream going pretty soon. I got to get our sponsors. Let me know if you guys want to be a sponsor. If you want to, interested in some of our sponsor packages for a live stream. I'm trying to live stream one of the Falcons games or a couple of the Falcons games this season. So make sure y'all like, follow, and subscribe. Follow Dive Team Media Network. Follow the Lunch Break Podcast. Follow the Splashcast. Peace. We'll see y'all. Falcons 1-1.